Welcome all. Thank you for joining. It's great session. I also see on the participants some names like Jihad, Haytham, and many more. Thank you for joining. Some good startups. Now we're Catalyst. Since we don't have the slides yet, but we're an accelerator. And we formed the whole operations in 2017 and 2018 when in May, approximately 2 years ago, when we started our operations. And I'll go through the slides and then perhaps and then I'll address to the questions right away. And I don't know if you can put our slides as well, Lamis. If not, I'll just continue. We're located in Masdar city. We were not, to be honest, when we first started, we didn't really think that, okay, how are we going to do this acceleration fund for the interesting startups? But the whole team, since we are a BP and Masdar joint venture company, both entities supported us massively with all their workforce to get to a stage where we are today. So we are the regions, to be honest, probably the GCCs and actually in the world, one of the only accelerator that's specifically focusing on sustainability and clean tech. Acceleration means, of course, to have a prototype on hand, a working prototype, or this prototype means a product or a system that's ready to be sold in the market, in different markets, as long as it captures the areas that we are focusing on the right upper corner, as you see on the field. So one is the food security and monitoring. We're also conducting, there's another food security challenge going on at this moment. Recycling technologies, it's an area that I specifically worked before, and this is something we really like to transform different materials into different new materials. E-mobility, energy efficiency and renewable technologies. Efficiency is, again, as long as you're an efficient, you're a startup that's focusing on efficiency on whatever you do, then you are welcome to apply. Environmental and agri-tech. As we see, many people got stuck at their apartments, and deep down, the most important questions: can I have good food on my table? Can this food be certified? And can this, will I get sick or not? So, and my environment, and we saw during, again, this COVID, that the environment started to come back because we're not driving, we're not flying, we're not, traveling. And the recent one, based on our one of our investment committee member from Abu Dhabi Investment Office, we started to elaborate if we can support health technologies. But in this case, is a different story. So we're an accelerator located in Masdar city. Is one of the main mission is, of course, to create different technologies that are focusing on sustainability with sustainable growth. So we're looking for companies that have different products, not just one product, and always develop. Yes, it's an acceleration, but within this acceleration, within the budget and within the time, we urge startup to go back and reiterate research and development to come back with a better product along the way, or later on when they graduate from our program. So the period is actually 12 to 18 months, we say, but the first 6 months is the most important for the massive acceleration. The support, a lot of support. I mean, we have space, yes, but besides the space is that a startup has a chance to work and cooperate with a lot of professionals that you see on the panelists. And besides, we have the legal, HR support, ICT in any kind of digital communications, marketing, and so forth. So just quickly, before I wrap up my last slide, so I give some time to Tarek as well from Sharjah. Once we introduce the startup to our system, in this case, once you are a winner in the system, we start working with you by massive mentorship and by doing due diligence if your startup is good, and what does it provide to UAE ecosystem, and can this startup produce in UAE and export, even if it's a service license-based service company, or if it's just a plain product, can we export this product from UAE outside to outside world? So we start working with the startup to come up with the correct pitch deck for our specific IC session. And in our IC, like I said, we have a member from BP, we have a member from the gentleman who's running the strategic planning of Masdar. We have from Audio, Deputy Director General, and we have from the Khalifa University as well. So this is a joint work that we really pay a lot of attention to a startup. It's not a 5-minute pitch session, it's a full 30-minute pitch session that we also give some time, some major time to a startup to be prepared. So that takes about 2 to 4 weeks, and then we take the startup to investment committee session. One question came from Wissam, that yes, you are, even if you are internationally located, we do it online until the time comes, and once we do the internal review, and if needs to be some rework to repitch to the investment committee, we do it. We've done it for 2 startups already, so that they can concentrate on the full idea, the sustainable idea. And then we do some negotiations with the startup, and once they score acceptable points, then we take it to the board review and for final approvals for the startup to be in the system. So the whole thing takes about, let's say, 2 months. But within this 2 months, we work very, very closely with the startup to provide correct mentorship. So yes, you can be outside, but once you're accepted outside UAE, but once you're accepted in our system, we fly you down to UAE to do the final works, which is we go to the next stage, starting up the company as a limited liability operations in Masdar free zone, which we have a one-stop shop. It's very, very fast, and everybody there is very knowledgeable. They know their works. So you set up the company and you start your operations immediately. So we try to make your life a lot easier. In some cases, we do provide accommodation for those startups to relocate. And believe it or not, the startups are, we have one startup going to relocate from St. Petersburg. We have another one from Paris, St. Petersburg, Russia, another one Paris, one from India, Australia. The gentleman, he moved from Australia to India, and now he's coming down here to do his operations. So our startup average age is 35 at the moment. Most of them are coming from a professional background to execute their works. But yes, as long as I see one of the questions, once the team leader is over 18, yes, then the rest of the team could be younger. We welcome young minds, of course, always. So company is set up, you have the LLC, you have the email, your marketing packages you created, your product, then we work very closely with you. The first 4 to 6 months is very important for a startup to move on. I'm finishing up. But after that, we go to Demo Day. Demo Day is where we're targeting you to receive Series A or B type of funding. And during this time, we do correct valuations from 3 different teams. And once this is done, if you receive your additional funding, then you continue doing your work. And you can be in our post program. We welcome and urge you to stay in Masdar City because you've already established your headquarters. And of course, you tap into all our networking so that you can sell your product, open new doors, and go to outside world in a faster way. So this is how we operate. Can I go back to the question real quick? If you don't mind. Can I see the question?
The question from the people?
No. My question, if I mentioned,
I will address that.
Okay.
I just want to give an indication here about two things. Once for all attendees, I just want to clarify one thing. One is that we do not have, the winners of the CovHack are not automatically enrolled in the Catalyst Acceleration Program. This is one. So the winners, they are the winners of the CovHack. Now, if they are eligible to enter your program, this is something will be based on the board of Catalyst to decide whether they think the winners will be taken on board with them. So this is for all the audience to clarify it. Do not confuse between the acceleration program of the Catalyst and what the CovHack opportunity is. Number two, Cinar, last time you were telling us that you are seeing a surge in the number of startups coming up these days with opportunities. What has changed in your opinion? Do you think that the VCs and accelerators are still funding startups, or you think that you have more startups than funding these days?
Definitely, they're much more careful right now when it goes to VC. Yeah, we operate very closely with BP Ventures, specifically with BP Ventures, of course, and they do have some companies that willing to open their offices in Masdar City. We're working on that. It's a high-level work, but this COVID, I can tell it helped out our startups, especially the new batch that we have, because they can rethink and reiterate their functions. And also many things went online. I want to emphasize yesterday, it was a big news, this one startup, because everybody due to COVID were staying home, and I mentioned during the Youth for Sustainability program today earlier, that many startups were, many people at home, they were looking things to do. They were either teaching themselves, going to Coursera type of online education and stuff to rethink, reimagine their startup, but then they also had to play. So, and when you go to Carrefour, you cannot even order a Sony PlayStation, but yet it opened different doors. And yesterday, one company from America, Zygo, acquired a gaming company from Turkey for $1.8 billion. So business doesn't stop. Business is moving. Online businesses are moving, but let's not forget there's a reality world out there that you need to look into physical materials to produce things from recycled, or go to do efficiency for renewable projects and so forth. So this time worked great, I think, for startups. VCs also staying at home, so they're not wasting money and time on the road going to meetings and that. So it was very efficient for everybody to see more startups. And yes, we do see a lot more startups now. We're keeping the IC investment committee members quite busy because we have another four to review before the board meeting and so. So it worked well. But if it goes beyond September or so, it's where I will say the red flag could come up, especially for startups who needs to produce goods at their location. If they cannot access, it's a problem. But for the ecosystem, especially for UAE, I think it worked good until now. And we'll see from now on. But that's why one of the reasons that we're going to look into biotech or health tech is because of we saw different examples in the world that whoever had a 3D printer created a network among the country to come up with face shields and masks, etc. So these are very interesting times that we're all living it.
Food and agri-tech, is it on your top priorities these days?
Yes, food and agri-tech, because especially knowing the source of the food that's coming to your table is the biggest deal. That we're paying a lot of attention for such startups, let's say. And Masdar is a great place for especially vertical farmers. We have some farming companies in Masdar City, in the tech park zone. So yes, I mean, deep down, when you look at it right now, whoever I speak to, they're saying like, we cannot stay in the city. We need to, because yes, one is you're stranded in an apartment, especially if you're in a crowded city in Italy or Spain, etc. So they all want to go outside the city and set up a farm grow their own food. So it is a big deal. It's a big deal. And it's a big deal also in UAE, and we've been doing our job pretty much to promote food.
Thank you, Cinar. Tarek, if you're with us, we'd just like to can you give us a bit of explanation about the Sharjah acceleration program, and how do you see the industry of the food-related innovation and agri-tech in your priorities these days?
Sure thing. Thank you for giving me the stage. First of all, on a high level, us at the Sharjah Research and Technology Park, we're focusing on two main things, which is venture creation and stimulating the ventures from that perspective.
I think we lost him. Lamis, in the meantime, can you please share with us the polling questions until Tarek gets back to us? We have 3 polling questions. If you can join us. Please, maximum participation will help us in this process. So, Cinar,
yeah.
one more point I would like to raise here. It's that if the startups, as the questions we received earlier, if they are not based in UAE,
yes.
So, and they win to be part of your program, do they need to open a branch in Abu Dhabi, or this is something? How does it work?
Well, we do have samples right now. I mean, example companies, like they already set up their startup in, like I said, in St. Petersburg, Russia. But because of the market and because of accessibility to the world, UAE is a better choice for them. Yes, the funding is there. Yes, we do provide accommodation and travel expenses are taken from the budget that we provide them. But the most important thing is they're willing to come to UAE. Because that's why we are all doing this together. It's a small country, but yet very active country. Logistically, it's highly developed since 1950s, let's say.
Thank you.
I mean, that's why it's not a problem for an international applicant to apply to us and get acceptance and coming down here. Of course, if the flights are open, but once they set up, we urge them to have their headquarters in Abu Dhabi, in Masdar City. But they have to keep their offices open for selling perspective or for point of contact, for maintenance or servicing the goods that they sell in that region. Yes, they have to keep it open. However, we urge them to bring the headquarters to UAE. And trust me, they like to do it. They're willing to do it because it's not just about the money. Like I said, the funding is in some areas are massive in some countries, but it's not that. It's networking. It's how you can bring your product to the next level. How can you scale it? These are the questions. So whether they come to Sharjah or to Abu Dhabi, to Dubai, as a matter of fact, we're all one team that we're doing it for UAE to bring, and it's a great ecosystem. I mean, I tell everybody that yes, during COVID they were all stranded in an apartment, but in Abu Dhabi we were quite okay. So I cannot complain. And when